Welcome back to the Hunt Fish Live podcast. I'm Dan, your host, and this is episode number 5. This week we're going to talk about some mid-October deer hunting tips or strategies, I guess. We're going to revisit one of my favorite bow kills of all time, the first deer that I shot on my own, so to speak. And we're going to talk a little bit about hunting scrapes in mid-October. Let's get into it. I'm going to set the stage for you. It is 2007. I had just gotten permission to deer hunt an apple orchard that friends of our family owned, and I was excited. I went out and bought a brand new ladder stand. I had a tree picked out. It was really the only tree on the edge of the property that didn't involve a ton of work. I know, shocker to some who know me. I didn't want to do a lot of work to get into a deer stand, but I bought the stand all by myself. I hung it all by myself. I picked the tree all by myself, and it was the tree stand was overlooking a hayfield that bordered the property line, and on the other side of the property, or on the other side in the neighbor's property, was an old abandoned apple orchard. So there was food in there. There was thick bedding. The deer had they did have water in the orchard that I was hunting, on the property, on the farm that I was hunting, but it was on the other side of the property, or it was down by the river in the swamp. So they had to go through this hayfield to get there, and as you know, deer in the evenings love hayfields. So I was like, this is a no-brainer. I'm definitely setting this tree stand up here, and we're gonna see what happens. It was Saturday, October 13, and I don't remember what the weather was like. It wasn't freezing cold, but it wasn't warm. 40s, I think, 50s, 40s. I do remember it was going to be decently chilly that night. So if I shot anything, it wasn't going to make a difference if I went and found it that night or not. So, I'm sitting there hanging out. It was before cell phones, before Facebook. Well, I shouldn't say before cell phones. I had a cell phone, but it wasn't a smartphone. You made calls and sent texts using the numbers instead of actual letters on a keyboard. So it was maybe I had a BlackBerry. I don't remember. Anyway, I remember throughout the evening, there were a few does that came out into the field, and a couple fawns, and I wasn't interested in taking any of them at the time. And I remember standing there as these deer are working through the field, thinking, man, it'd be awesome to have a buck come through. Well, lo and behold, it gets to be, oh gosh, it wasn't dark, but it wasn't light. It was probably the last 5 minutes of shooting light. I could tell there was a deer. It was I do remember it was cloudy, so it got a little bit dark before shooting time actually ended. So this deer came out from behind me. I heard it coming through the leaves or the trees and the long grass. It jumped the fence into the field, and it stood there for, I don't even remember, 5 minutes or so, just checking everything out. I could see it was a big bodied deer. I couldn't see its antlers, and really at that point, it didn't matter. It took a few steps and made it 15, 20 feet into the field further. Perfectly broadside to me. It was on my left, so it was a strong side shot, and I told myself, you know what? I know this is a buck. I'm 100% positive it's a buck. It's got a huge body. I have a clear shot at the vitals. I'm just going to take a shot. So I remember pulling back, and I looking through my sights, through my peep, through my actual sight on my bow. I remember seeing this like triangle shaped opening in the tree branches, the ends of the tree branches that was right in front of me. And I just remember it lined up perfectly with his vitals. I'm like, you know what? I have to take this shot. And I let the arrow fly. I heard it hit. It sounded great. It was a complete pass through. My arrow was sticking in the ground on the other side of the deer. 15-yard shot. It couldn't have been more perfect. The deer spun and took off back the way it came from onto the neighbor's property. We had permission to go over there to get deer, but that was about it. They didn't want us hunting over there. They didn't want anything. So, my first thought was, holy crap, I actually did this on my own without any help. I wasn't hunting with anybody. I didn't have any of my buddies there, nothing. So I sat down. I remember just like freaking out, right? Because this doesn't happen to me. But also was so excited. So I immediately called my parents, I think. I think my dad had a cell phone. And they were out to dinner, and I'm like, I just shot a deer. I'm going to wait till tomorrow to get it just because I'm not sure, and I just would rather be safe than sorry. So I ended up getting down a little while later and packing up and heading home. And it was the longest night of my life. I'm just hoping and praying that we can come back Sunday morning and find this deer. I thought I remember hearing it crash into the grass and stuff, but you're just not sure. I didn't know how big this deer was. All I know, the body was huge. So next day comes along and I wake up. My dad's like, hey, we're going to get this deer. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So my dad came with me. We grabbed a sled that we used to use on our sledding hill in the backyard, and in hopes of finding this deer. We drove back through the orchard, past the farm store, and they were all excited for me. Being good family friends, they were stoked that I had a chance at finding this deer. And then I made the shot on this deer, and we found where it jumped back across the fence. Immediate blood trail. We were immediately on the blood. It went 50 yards into the old orchard, and there it was laying. That was one of the most exciting moments in my life because I got to experience that with my dad, and I never thought that he would be the one that I would get to experience that with, but it was awesome. So he helped me gut it. We put it in the sled, drug it back across the fence, and gutted it in where I had permission to hunt, or in the field there, and knowing that the coyotes were just going to take care of the gut pile in a matter of days, which they did. So we got the deer loaded up, drove back up to the front of the property through the barns and whatnot, and the landowners were super excited to see that I actually got one, and to see my excitement and joy from everything that they allowed me to do over there. So yeah, it was a cool moment in my life, and I'll never forget that. I knew it was coming up, and Facebook Memories showed me this morning that I had posted deer pictures in 14 years ago? More than that, 17 years ago. Yeah, geez, 17 years ago, 2007. October 13, 2007. Definitely a day that I will never forget. Thanks to Facebook Memories. But yeah, this year, it is time to get another buck picture in the photo album. Let's see. That being said, it is mid-October, and things are starting to warm up in the deer woods. Patience is key when hunting during the month of October. You just can't rush things. Don't get super aggressive, and use your time wisely. Move in and strike. Move into the tree stands and strike when conditions are right. Stay back and observe when they aren't. So you want to use if you know a buck's moving through an area, hunt that area. Don't get too aggressive, but also don't take it lightly. But if you're not seeing anything, maybe do a couple observation sits and get an idea where deer are moving and what they have going on. At this point in the month, most bucks have relocated to their fall range. Come to find out, most bucks are loyal and won't leave their home range by mid to late October. So that's right now. Even pressured deer that are pushed around by hunters and other people walking the woods and enjoying the outdoors, they'll hunker down, bed down, and stay in those areas. During this week, want to continue our focus on food, but avoid those major feeding areas. You want to avoid those fields. You want to avoid, your big food areas, and focus on the smaller, more secluded food sources, like that little grove of acorn oak trees that are dropping acorns, or that chunk of sweet grass at the back corner of a field. Just want to catch them in there. Also, setting up near staging areas between bedding and food is also a good idea. If you can find scrapes, set up between your bedding and your scrapes, or your food and your scrapes. Those deer will use those scrapes as they're moving through and mark their scent, and just let other deer know that they are that they're around. Hunting scrapes can be a very good strategy for your mid-October hunts. I know I love hunting scrapes. I've hunted many times near a scrape, 30 yards, 20 yards from a scrape, that I've seen deer come in, does and bucks, using those stop signs. They most always refresh it, scrape it up with their hooves, and leave their scent behind. I had, a couple years ago, I was down in northwest Indiana, and I was hunting a huge scrape. We called it the car hood scrape because it was about as big as a car hood. I had a giant come in right at dark. I had zero camera light left, and I could barely see it with my own eyes, but I could see his antlers silhouetting against the lighter sky. I was in the woods and he was on the edge of the field. I should have hunted a different stand. Thinking back on it, that focused more on that scrape. If I would have done that, I probably would have been able to kill that deer for sure. What is your view on hunting scrapes? Are you going to hunt the actual scrape, or are you going to hunt on the path or the trail that leads to the scrape? I know I would rather hunt the scrapes. I have never had much luck hunting those staging areas between the scrapes and bedding, but I'm not saying that it's a bad idea. It can definitely be done. I know my buddies do it. I'm just more of an actual hunt the scrape kind of hunter. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think, how you would hunt a scrape line. Would you stay away and hunt that staging area, or would you hunt that actual scrape? Well, that's it for this episode of the Hunt, Fish, Live podcast. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to my podcast and leave a comment. How do you hunt scrapes? Do you hunt over the scrape, or do you hunt from afar? Let me know. We'll see you next week.